light of God, even though and because you are the light of God, but you are also at the same time a seeker of truth, a seeker of honesty, a seeker of reality. At some point, you realize that you're not a seeker at all, and that walking in this world is really a dream that has been established as reality. So, even though there is an essence of discovery and an acknowledgement that what you know, what you think you know in the world is not the answer. It's not even the question. It seems to be almost a dangerous element that the ego looks at. It looks at the world of healing as a dangerous place where you're going to lose your all that you've worked for, all that you've um, developed and thought you knew, and there is so much striving in that that it's it feels painful to let it go because you've strived so much. And that seems so much like what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to find that place within you that's a good striver, a good learner in the world. And then the divine starts whispering to you, drop it, let it go. What were you fighting for? And what did you think you were going to get? And even saying, do you remember the agreements that you made? Are you remembering where you set contracts down into your soul or tried to? And what were those contracts? I am never going to be without. That's a contract. I am never going to be second place. That's a contract. I'm going to prove to everybody that I am successful, that I am everything I'm supposed to be. And then the spiritual journey comes, and you can't figure it out anymore because all that you thought you knew was a fantasy. And if in the honesty of discovery, you can find that place within that recognizes the wanting of that to complete that identity. But there's also a place of honesty within you that realizes that it never it never comes to that. You never actually prove anything. And when you think you do prove something within a short amount of time, it falls flat. It has no punch left to it. And where spirit is really leading you is to the place where you will not only be at peace, but you will be fulfilled. Fulfilled. But not in any way that you thought you would be fulfilled. No strutting around, no attachment to accolades. There's no payoff. There's no pride and comparison. You know those sneaky little places that you go to kind of maybe after the light's not on anymore, where you compare yourself to others and you kind of rack up your attributes. Of course, the ego's voice while you're racking up the attributes, then the ego just kind of pulls the rug right out from underneath you and says, these aren't worth anything. And you're never going to beat those guys. You're never going to get to be better than them because they have the market on it. This is all the letting go, because the ego entices with a carrot that says, but now if you do it again, if you try it again to be the best, I think this time you'll make it. And so you try it again. But then you realize it didn't work again, or it didn't give you, even if you made it to the top, whatever that top may be, even if you were the leader of a country, the manager of a store, are those different? The leader of a country, the manager of a store? No, there's no difference. Because each beloved is here for the same purpose, to let go of this false identity that has to compete in this world of lack, or the perception of lack, and the belief that you're gaining something. And now is the blessing of realizing you can't prove anything, because your identity of being less is totally fabricated. It has no reality. There's no less, there's no more. So where did they go? Less and more. It's the realization that it never was. So all the pain that everyone has held, of not being enough, of believing the emotional body that is coming from the mind, and that keeps saying, not enough, not enough, never be enough. It's totally fabricated, and you are the complete light of the universe. You are the perfection of God's creation. You can't be anything else. unless you believe that God makes mistakes or makes different variations of running from 1 to 10 of how perfect or how not perfect. But it's all made up. You are the light of God. But as long as you battle with proving your worth and going back and forth between holding yourself as never going to be enough or going to the other side of the fantasy that says I'm very special and I've beaten the crowds. There is a there is a sad place within the heart that doesn't see the perfection of being ordinary. It goes against everything that the world has tried to produce in separation. That you are ordinary, the ordinary magnificence of God's creation, but ordinary because you are one with all creation. It's as if God was walking across the room and you were in the room and you said, notice me, notice me, notice me, and can't notice you because you're exactly the same as everybody else in perfection. And that's just that old ego fantasy that somehow if you get noticed or you get acknowledged, that somehow it makes you more complete when you are already the perfection of God's light. Never anything to prove again, only love to accept and be. We are part of everything that is reality. We are part of everything that is spirit and that can shape change into any element at any time. We can become the water. We can become the wind because everything of love, everything that is eternal, you are. Salve Mother Nana, salve, 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 salve the depth of the lake. Salve, 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 salve Mother Yamanja. Salve, 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 salve the waves of the sea. Salve, 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 salve all the water. Salve, 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 salve the depth of the sea. Salve, salve, salve. I have cried a lot in the world of illusion and have lamented everything that has been of the past. I now leave everything that I was yearning for in the illusion, and I'm going to go and live among the flowers. I'm going to go and live among the flowers with my Blessed Mother. The fears that have appeared have been a great rebellion, and now let's all, beloved, sing with love as the Blessed Mother will dispel all of these fears. I'm the child of the Blessed Mother. I recognize this power and I call the force. I call the force of this power to come and open my heart. Can it be that easy? Come and open my heart. Yes, it can, if you truly want it. And sometimes that's a little test that you can give yourself. Where am I really? Where am I kidding myself? And where am I really standing? And many times in that, you can open that door by saying, heal my heart right now. And if there's a fear that comes up, well, then, yeah, okay, that fear is still being allowed. And then you have that opportunity to go deeper and not hold that fear any longer. Remembering that fear is a choice. It's not the belief that is holding you back. It's the fear that protects the belief. Fear is used to protect the illusion. And once you can recognize that the fear is not your friend, then the fear of protection will fall away. Juro muito e lamento tudo que já se passou. Deixo tudo somente vou viver no meio das flores. Vou viver no meio das flores, junto com a Virgem Maria, os terrores que aparecem nessa grande rebeldia. Sou filho da Virgem Mãe, reconheces de poder. Chama a força, ele chama a força para vir nos defender. I call the force. I call the force. If you call the force of love, healing is minutes away when you call on the force of love. When you let yourself be taken by the power of love, the intelligence of the universe, let it teach you, let it show you, let it strip you of everything that you fantasized in the past about, but it's time to let it go. Be free. And everyone has the same remembering, which is I cried a lot and I lamented because everybody laments. And it's an easy place to get stuck in. It's kind of like going down the rabbit hole with Alice in Wonderland. Let the power of love heal everything for you. Love will show you what is real. Love will show you what you made up without any type of condemnation, just the realization, oops, that was a mistake. Went in a direction that was not of truth. The birds of paradise, lovers of truth, rise up. Let us go toward heaven, toward truth. We have seen enough of this world. It's time to see another, to strip the mind and the heart of any limitation, belief in limitation, and really be willing to see the true world of love. No problems there. All the perception of problems disappear because your mind is freed to see another world. No, no, don't stop here. The gardens may flow with beauty, but let us go to the gardener rather than to the garden. Are you willing to go to the gardener and have the gardener trim away all the untruth that you've been carrying? The gardener is the power of love. Let us go bowing to the ocean. Like a raging torrent, let us go, riding upon the foaming waters of the sea. Let us go. Let us travel from this desert of hunger to the feast of nourishment. Our hearts beat fast. We tremble like leaves about to fall. Let us become the immovable mountain, strong, full, held by God. There is no escape from pain for one in exile. There is no escape from dust for one who lives in a dust bowl. Let us be like the birds of paradise that fly about drinking sweet water, free. We are surrounded by the forms of a formless creator. Enough with these forms. Let us go to the formless one. Love is our steady guide on this road full of hardships. We are crooked bows with strings that run from our head to our toes. Soon we will be straight, like an arrow in flight. We run like mice when we see a cat, yet we are the lion's roar. Let us become the lion. Let our souls mirror the love of our Master. Let us go before him with a handful of gifts, always offering. Now let us be silent so that the giver of speech can speak. Let us be silent so we can hear him calling us secretly in the night. Let us be silent. Let us go before him with a handful of gifts. What would what would be the gifts that you would bring to the divine? Because that's what ends up being in the heart, is that beautiful opening that wants to give everything in gratitude for what is received. But what are the handful of gifts that you can give? You have a choice every day to give gifts all day. The gift of truth, the gift of gentleness, the gift of inquiry, the gift of the willingness to change your mind, the gift that says, I want to return to peace. These are all gifts that you give to God. Every time that you have a gift to yourself of accepting you don't know, that gift is a gift to God because it means that you're closer to truth. It means that you're accepting the deeper truths and willing to question what you truly want, what is really running moment to moment. The beauty. So then let us be silent, so that the giver of speech may speak. The giver of speech. So you may think that this speech is somehow connected to an identity, has no identity. Everything that is spoken through the silence of the giver of speech is always to serve. It's always the love of service. It is the most amazing place. Just imagine this for a moment, because you will be here and live here in this truth. When you accept that you are the divine light of God and complete, completely complete, then everything has to be of service, because you already have everything. You're not in any way looking to prove your worth anymore. You're not looking to be thought of well. What is one of the most painful places that the ego takes everyone? It's that secret place that when you're by yourself, after you've had a contact with others, other beloveds, that you, in your secret place, you ask yourself, was I liked? Was I accepted? Was I admired? Was I impressing anyone? These are secret questions that we ask ourselves, because those are the secret places that we want. And that's what's holding us from letting go, because we want to have that be true, that we could get others to be impressed, so that you can rise above the ordinary. But it never works. There's always doubt, there's always fear. And what is the antidote for that? The antidote is there's nothing to get. Absolutely nothing to get. If you are everything as it is promised, and I guarantee you that you are, what are you trying to get when everything is already within? And that wanting, that drive to get, to prove, to that's that's the addiction of the illusion. And it's you can feel it. It's very strong when it's activated. And the antidote is everything is already here. Everything that is true, everything of love is what you are. And it's the discovery of that truth through the letting go and the rejection of the lies. And to continue always in this place to be so grateful you weren't right. Thank God you're not right. You can look at anyone in this world. You can look at someone who's trying to migrate to another country. You can look at anyone who is doing anything, going to school, getting a job. It doesn't matter what it is. And if they could surrender the need to prove worth, they would be stopped in their tracks and be free. Nothing to get, nothing to prove. How can anyone believe that you can love another if you want them to give you something that they can't give you? If you think that they hold something that you don't have, respect, admiration, doesn't matter what it is. When you're looking for something from someone else, approval of any kind, you end up hating them because they cannot fulfill what your fantasy is. They can't. And it isn't that they don't try. They may try, but they can't, because what you're really longing for, the longing that is within you, the only thing that it actually is part of is the longing for God, the longing for you to come home, because you will never be satisfied, at peace, until you accept that you're longing for God. You can take it out on buying new clothes, you can take it out on getting a new car, you can take it out on anything, painting, doesn't matter, any kind of project. There's nothing wrong with projects, but it's what is it for? What does it give you? If it's to serve, it will bring you to a place of peace. If it's to prove your worth, it's always going to come in flat because it can't prove your worth. And yet there can be such a joy in painting something, singing something, dancing something, humming, humming something. It doesn't matter what it is. It's your devotion to God that sings through you. And it can sing through you because you're not attached to getting or proving worth from something in the world. Sing with the devotion that remembers that you are God's light. What could be more wonderful to sing about than? And do you have to have words? No, no. You can sing like a child. You don't have to be critiquing anything. Nobody is critiquing anything. It's within you. And you sing, and let your longing for God burst through. It will take you in silence, even though you're singing. In silence, a guide has entered your life, and his message is heard only in silence. Take a sip of his precious wine and lose yourself. Don't insult the greatness of his love, for he helps all those who suffer in silence. Polish the mirror between the breaths. Go with him beyond words. He knows your every deed. He is the one who moves the wheel of heaven in silence. Every thought is buried in your heart. He will reveal them one by one in silence. To see the moon that cannot be seen, turn your eyes inward and look at yourself in silence. In this world and the next, don't talk about this and that. Let him show you everything shining as one in silence. There is something incredibly powerful in the silence, of course, but the most precious thing of the silence is that you can hear the voice of love. I'm speaking to you all the time. I'm sending you truth all the time. Doesn't need words. It's love itself. You're surrounded by guidance. You're surrounded by beings of love that only guide. And it's all in silence. But the most beautiful thing happens in that silence is that when you are in silence, you actually return to sanity. Because that, the mindless chatter of the ego's voice, is the insanity that you feel. It's like words that are just mucking around in your brain, and you can't find that silence because the ego voice not only speaks, it answers conversations, not realizing that it's a voice that is illusion. But we've carried those same voices around, and at some point we have to let them go because they're not our friends. And when they start really showing up as chatter, that's actually the gift for you to be able to recognize more easily how disturbing that voice is, because it never says anything that's loving. It doesn't, it can't. So everything that it says is garbage, painful garbage, but garbage. Imagine that everyone that you meet from now on, you purposefully hold in your heart that you have nothing to prove. That if the temptation comes, let me tell you about myself. Let me tell you what I've done. Let me tell you. And you hear that voice, just back up the trailer, back it up, put it in reverse, and start again. Begin again. That you are there just to hold the truth of love of whatever and whoever that beloved is. That you're there to lift them up and hold them as the light of God. And if it brings you to tears, that you touch something so deeply that you actually feel their holiness, don't be shy of the tears. Don't be shy to demonstrate that your heart is breaking open because you're connected with beloved. And you want to exalt them. You want to exalt them because that is the gift. That is the gift that we give to God. That every beloved that we come in contact with, that we think about, that we have the choice, at least for a while, of seeing them as God's light, or that we put on them our hot potatoes of wanting to be proven how special we are when there's nothing to be special about. You're everything. And so are they. But you won't know that you're the ordinariness of God until you see it in all these others. That beautiful place with an open heart, that when you think of another, it's like thinking about God because you're touching into their spirit. You're going past the identity that you may have given them, the idea that they're this age, that they weigh this much, that they're this color hair, that they just got a haircut, that they didn't get a haircut, whatever. All of it just falls away and you touch your beloved as one heart. If you ask yourself the questions, particularly of trying to get, that is one of the major elements that is so painful, trying to get. And the whole thing of trying to get something from someone, admiration, prestige, acknowledgement, whatever it is, it's it's where all the pain comes from. And every single opportunity is there to give you the chance again to realize that you are the ordinary magnificence of God and that you are one with everyone. Imagine saying to a beloved, "You are the light of God," and just holding that truth for them. Ordinary, perfect. You are the light of God. You can't even brag about them because they are the light of God as everyone is the light of God. But you treat them as the light of God. You honor them as the light of God. You respect them as the light of God. And what disappears is the idea of respecting someone for their accomplishments within the world. There's only one. They're the light of God, perfect and whole, God's light. Nothing to prove, nothing to get, nothing to brag on, no special relationships that, oh, and no difference between the president of a country and the beloved who takes care of the yard. One heart, one truth, one light. Nothing to get. And just feel that spaciousness when there's nothing to get. No expectations, only love.